Hello, Facebook. How is everyone doing? Bear with. I was going to sit on the floor. It's kind of like Friday. I don't really work, so I'm actually in comfies. Let's just put it that way, comfies. So I sat on the floor. I was like, let's do it on the floor. And then last minute, I decided to move, and now I'm just adjusting. So one of the ways I want to adjust is by coming and hugging you all. And then come and say hello as you're joining. If you're joining live, let me know you're here. I'm just going to tag in one place because it takes me a hot minute to do this. Generator style. And then we're going to get into how to alchemize your blocks using human design. Your blocks. You'll see me do this a lot, your blocks. So come and say hello. Let me know you're here. If you're watching the replay, let me know you're here. If this is the first time you're seeing me, welcome. I'm super excited to have you join this little corner of the world that I share on the internet. If this is not the first time you're seeing me, then welcome back. Hi, and if you are joining for the first time, hit on the thing above that says give stream your permission. I'd really love you to do that because I cannot see your names. But hello. Hello, Facebook user. Okay, so I'm going to close Facebook down. All right, let's see. Okay, so hello, welcome. Welcome to a lazy Friday in my world where I am pondering all things energetic. And of course, when I'm pondering all things energetic, I also want to come share it with you. So alchemize your blocks using human design. Here's the thing. When we know that we're working with energy as well as strategy, particularly in business, right? Well, everything, energy is energy across the board. I'm just going to share before we get into this. I read a great book. Well, I've started reading a great book called The Science of Miracles. And in it, at the beginning, she says, you cannot pee in the swimming pool and expect it not to get everywhere. And that's the same as energy, right? You know, when people say your energy is across, well, I always say your energy is energy across the board. Other people say how you show up for one thing is how you show up for everything. And this really is what that means. You can't be all, okay, I'm super aligned in my business, but then the rest of your life is not aligned, or I'm really aligned in the rest of my life. And then your business, you know, it doesn't work that way because your energy is your energy. And like if you're here now, you are the person who is the creator of your business. You're the person who's the creator of your reality. So your business, your energy is going to be across the board. How you use that, how you work with that is going to be across the board. Your energy is not compartmentalized and it doesn't show up in one way here and a different way here. It is the same, right? First time I've caught you live. Hey, Chantel, so lovely to have you here with me live. I feel like because I see your face and your name, I feel like, wow, is this really the first time you've caught me live? Well, I'm really happy you could be here. So when we're looking at what we're taking responsibility for energetically, you're in a world where we know that we can manifest. In order to manifest, we have to take responsibility for the things that we're manifesting that we don't really want to have in our life. We take responsibility for the things that are happening that we love equally as the things that we don't really love. And we take responsibility of all of those aspects so that we can really come back to a place of taking ownership and knowing that we are the creators. We get to be responsible for all of these things. In Australia, yeah, I get it with the timings, totally get it. So what time is it there? Is it like super late? Are you in the middle of the night there? When we look at alignment, when we look at energy, and we start to recognize that it's the foundation of everything. Now, in human design theory, we're towards the end of a karmic cycle. We're towards the end of the paradigm that we're in. So the paradigm we're in now has been built upon the paradigm that mastered survival. So as a species, we mastered survival. Then in 1781, we had more freedom to master, because of lots of things I'm not going to get into right now, we have more freedom to then master the material plane. That's when you have things like where you start to look at what happened between now and from 1781 to now. You've got like the Industrial Revolution, the technological age. You've got all these different things, this creation, this building of organizations, systemization, all of these things happening that are really about the cross of planning, which is what we're in right now. Now in 2027, we move into a different paradigm. So we're moving into a paradigm that is asking us to master the energetic plane, the spiritual plane. So we've moved from this very material way of being and a real big focus on the masculine, like the doing and value in material wealth and all of those things. And we're moving into a paradigm that is completely opposite, that is very feminine. It's about the being. It's about having mastering the energetic and finding value in who you are, not in what you do, not in what you have, but in who you are. So there's this big change that is happening. And for me, this is why I'm like, well, of course, you come to the end of a cycle, things get cleared out, things get a bit wonky, which is why there's so many like weird things that have been happening in the last few years in the world. So all of that is because it's shaken up. And then you layer that with everybody having this like spiritual awakening. Not everybody, like you know what I mean. You're in this space, you get what is going on in the world. Everybody, all of a sudden, there's this huge resurgence of we want to be in alignment, we want to manifest, we want to understand our energy. Like it's massive. And that's because energetically we're moving into a different paradigm. So we have this awareness, this understanding that energy is a cornerstone, is a foundation for our life, for our business, for our happiness, for our health, for our abundance, for our wealth, all of those different things. And because we're still in this masculine way of being, and we've had this conditioning of the patriarchy that looks to fix, because we've got this knowledge now, we go, okay, well, how am I going to fix that? What is it in me that is broken, that is creating this reality or holding me back from what it is that I desire? How am I going to fix that? So I love healing. I love the world of healing. I love the world of energy and all of those things. But I think sometimes, and with all things, it can be a blessing and it can be a curse. The awareness that we have that we can do something energetically about this, combined with the conditioning of the patriarchy, fix, means that a lot of people are looking for what's broken inside of them. 9 p.m. Brisbane, amazing. Hi, Suzanne, how are you, lovely? So when we're looking at what is broken inside of us, we can always find something. Whatever you search for, you can find something. Now, I would say the brain is like this evidence-seeking missile. It will always find evidence of what you direct that missile to. A lot of our conditioning means that we are looking for evidence that things aren't working. We're looking for evidence that it's not going our way, that it's not working out for us. But if you switch that and you start to look for evidence that this is working for me, then you will have a very different experience. And it's the same when we look at the blocks. Now I'm going to tell you why I do this in a minute. It's the same when we look for the blocks. If you look to find what you need to fix inside of you, you will always find something. Now, I'm not saying that you stop looking. I'm not saying that you don't do that, because we're all in this state of evolution. We're all moving through layers of expansion, different evolution. We're all here to experience different things so that we can, alchemize those things. But what I'm saying is that there is a more empowered way to explore what is going on instead of what is broken in me. What do I need to fix? And also, this is one that can also happen. I can't do this because I have this block. This happens a lot. I'm going to explore this with you in a minute. This happens a lot. So I'm not saying all of this so that, you're going, oh my God, this is me. If it's you, amazing. Let's celebrate that you've got that awareness and that we can now say, let's look at this a different way. It's all perfect. I've definitely been there. What do I need to heal to make more money? What do I need to fix to do this? All of those things, all of them. When we're looking at blocks, I use the word because people resonate with it, but I always put it like this, because actually I don't really believe in blocks. I don't really believe in them. I don't believe in lessons. I don't believe that the universe is going, okay, let's see if you can pass this test. I don't believe that that is what is happening. I believe that everything around you is inherently working for you all of the time. I believe that everything, the universe, God, love, spirit, whatever you want to call it, I believe that it is always supporting you and it is always contributing to your evolution. Now, if you were born into this world to stay safe and comfortable in your comfort zone, well, we're always safe. That's a different thing. To stay comfortable in your comfort zone, if you were born into this world to be in your comfort zone and that is it, then you wouldn't be here now. If you were born into this world to be comfortable, to me, I'm like, what is the point? What is the point of being comfortable? Because then you're just like, that's it. Do you remember? I don't know what ages you all are, but there's this like I'm a child of the 80s, so with the whole Britpop thing that came about in the 90s, that was like my heyday. That was like at school. So the whole thing with Blur, they had this song. I don't know if anyone knows Blur. Totally off on a tangent, but it feels really relevant. They had this song called Arnold Same. I think it was called Arnold Same. And it was basically Arnold Same does the same thing on the same day every day, and he lives the same way that he did every day, and all of these things. And it's just this really dreary, depressing song. And I'm like, that is the person who is satisfied with their life in the comfort zone. You're here because you're not. So what happens is every time we have these blocks, these tests, these lessons, all that you're being asked to do is to step into a level of expansion, is to go through the evolution that you are here to experience. Blocks are not this bad thing. They're not the villain of the story. They're not this evil thing that's trying to trip you up or hold you back. Child of the 80s here in Team Blur. I love it. They're not trying to trip you up. They're not trying to hold you back. They're not trying to be in this space of like, let's see if you can. It's not running the gauntlet, you know. They're actually here for your evolution, for your expansion. If we didn't have the blocks, how would we evolve? If we didn't have the blocks, how would we expand? If we didn't have those experiences, how do we get to be who we are now? How do we get to be who we're designed to be? How do we get to live out this full purpose that we came into this life to experience and to step into? Do you see? They're not bad. They're not evil. Some of them, we just got to really make friends with them. I can tell you that some of mine come up and they come up every level of expansion. There it is again. And there's a part of me that is, seriously, we've done this work already. What is going on here? But we also have to make peace with it. Like, okay, great. Hurrah, another level of expansion. Whenever my clients come to me and they're like, this is what's going on, like, celebrate that, because then we can move through it. We can move through it from a place of love, because once you celebrate it, you're recognizing that it's evolution and expansion. I can also tell you that at times I've said, celebrate it. And if you want to swear at me now, swear at me now. Like, just get it all out, because when you're in it, it's not like, oh, everything's rainbows and sunshine. So the thing about blocks is this: you are here to experience those things so that you can go through evolution and expansion to be the person who you're always designed to be. Does that make sense? So when we're looking at blocks, we have to switch from that disempowered place of, I have blocks, I can't do this, or this, my reality isn't matching, so therefore there's something inside of me. There's a lot of marketing that teaches you that. And that is not empowered or always the truth. Let me talk about this a second. This wasn't what I was going to talk about, but I think it's important. There's a lot of marketing out there that says if you don't have what you want to have in your business or in your life, then it's because you have a block or a wound or something you've got to heal or something energetic that you've got to look at. And that is perpetuating a myth and a lie that isn't true. Now, sometimes there are things that we've got to look at and alchemize. There are things that we have to step into in order to go through that expansion. That's truth. If you do not have the reality that you desire to see, sometimes, now obviously I'm not going to blanket statement this, sometimes it's because you have put a condition on the timeline of what you want to see. Who's done that? well, I haven't achieved this in 2022. That means I've got to look at something that's wrong in me. I haven't achieved this in this timeline. I've got to look at something that's inside of me. What's broken? What do I need to fix? You know, dialing up, I was going to say dialing up psychic hotlines. Help, I'm broken. But it's not about that at all. It could just be that you haven't given it enough time, but your brain, the logic, the masculine has said, well, hold on, if you haven't had it at this time, you're probably not going to get it. The timing piece is super important. You'll probably hear me say all the time, it's perfect timing. Perfect timing. When people say they don't want to work with me, I'm like, it's perfect timing. When people say they do want to work with me, perfect timing. Yeah, the timeline. It's true. Because then we're putting pressure on it. We're killing the magic. We're putting our own definition on what is happening. And it's a little bit like that meme that I'm pretty sure everybody's seen, you know, the mining for diamonds, when the guy gives up and he's like this far away from the diamonds. Who are we to say that this is the timeline that shows that we're on the right path, that we're doing the right thing, that, you know, that the evidence is happening? Who are we to say that? We don't know. We can't decide that. All we can do is have the momentum moving forward with energy and actions that we're doing in order to create that reality, to navigate ourselves in an empowered way through the blocks, through the expansion, into the discomfort, and to trust that everything is going to come to fruition in the perfect time. To celebrate that we're moving forward, to celebrate everything on the way, and to know that we are perfect where we are in this moment and in this time and in this now. When we put timelines on things, we put this expectation, this condition, this pressure that destroys the magic, because we're constantly looking out for, when is it going to happen? When you're looking through the lens of when is it going to happen, you're inherently in the energy of lack. When we put it on this timeline and we're in this lack space, the timeline is all of a sudden, you don't know this, but it's just extended. This is like project creep, right? When you are in the energy of abundance, when you're like, everything's perfect, I'm moving forward, I'm celebrating that I'm moving forward, I'm taking the action, taking the aligned action, I'm doing the energetic empowerment, embodiment, I'm doing the things, I'm being the person. My job now is to trust that it's always in perfect timing. When we put this time on things, it's almost like we're putting a deadline on ourselves, because we don't know how long it's going to take. And, you know, I was talking about this the other day, where you've got all of these people who you know in the world. Think about any famous person right now, a famous person, somebody who's famous for, like, you know, amazing things like Marie Curie, or somebody who's famous for being a celebrity like J-Lo, or somebody who's famous for creating a whole brand like Walt Disney. You think about anybody who you can think of right now, any famous person. Guess what happened? They didn't say, right, I'm going to give this a month, and if it doesn't figure out in a month, then I'm done with it. They didn't say that. They said, I've got this purpose, I've got this vision, I've got this desire, and I will do whatever it takes until whenever it takes. I am committed to it no matter what. You're here because you have that in your heart, because you have your purpose, because you have this desire. But then when we get caught up with all the, you know, the social media feed of, well, I just made 7 figures in 23.8 minutes. And we go, what? I didn't do that. How come I didn't make 7 figures in 23.8 minutes? Then we start going, maybe there's something wrong in me. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. Maybe I'm not supposed to do this. A lot of that, I'm going to say suffering, because, like, I really feel like it is suffering that we create for ourselves. And I'm including myself, of course, this happens. A lot of the suffering that we create from ourselves, if you strip it back, it comes back to, they're doing this, I'm not doing this, or I've imposed this deadline on myself. Now, is there a deadline on your desires? Is there? Is there a deadline on when your business is going to get to a certain point? Because if you think about when your business gets to a certain point, what that means is that you're creating all this impact, and the ripple effect of that work that you're doing, the impact that you're creating, is fundamentally life-changing for so many people for generations to come. That's why you're in business. So is there a deadline on that? And who are you to judge what that deadline is? Like if that's your work, if that's what you're here to do, if that's your purpose, then we don't go, yeah, I'll give it a go. If it doesn't work in this time, then it's not going to be right for me. But you can ask for signs and evidence that it is moving you in the right, that you're in the right direction, that you're creating what you want to create. And like, I'll get back to the blocks in a minute. My invitation to you around that is to focus on impact and not income. Because you can create impact. You're already creating impact all the time. You speak to one person, you create a mindset shift. Somebody at the school gates, for example, you can create a mindset shift. You can brighten their day by being in alignment and being around people. You are creating impact. So you're already in an abundance of impact. Whereas income, if you're like, okay, well, this is my intention. My intention for the next month is whatever, 10K. If you're on day one of that next month and you haven't started bringing in income, your brain is already going, look, told you this wasn't going to work. Your energy goes, I'm in lack. Your heart, like it has such a powerful impact when we can start to look at the perspective that we have. Looking at impact, celebrating impact, all of those things. Does that make sense? Totally went off on a tangent then, so please tell me it makes sense. I wish I got some water. My mouth's really dry with all this. Anyway, it's all good. So when we're looking at blocks, there's two ways that we can look at what is going on and where we can absolutely amazing. There's two ways that we can look at this, and these are the two things that I work with on myself and with my clients. It's having an awareness of what is more likely to be inside of you, which is human design. I'll talk about that in a minute. And then there's the experiential piece, which inherently is coming from when we're in expansion. So when we're in expansion, I've got a whole course on this. When we're in expansion, we are being asked to calibrate to this new level of energy, capacity, being, experience. So when we're in expansion, we experience these different points of calibration. They're not tests, they're not blocks. All the universe is doing is saying, I feel, because everything's feeling, right? Everything's energy. I feel that this is where you're stepping into. I hear that this is your intention. I feel that you're making moves to create this, but I just don't quite feel it yet. Imagine it's that, it's like you're there and you're not. You've got one foot in, one foot out. And all the universe is doing is saying, come on, jump over the line. Let's get into this. Let's do this. And so you get these opportunities to calibrate, not tests, not lessons, opportunities to calibrate. Invariably, that is to do with something that you're creating or expanding into. So I love to use business as an opportunity for expansion. And the way that we do this, the way that I do this is, I'm simplifying this, but the way that I do this is to launch something that requires me to embody it. So whenever I launch something, I embody it for myself first. Whenever I launch anything, I do the work first before I launch. And then when I launch, I am asked to calibrate, because this is how embodiment works. Whether you know it's happening or not, we may as well use this as a strategic tool, right? You're asked to embody. And what happens is that when you're doing that embodiment, the points of calibration that come, the opportunities of calibration that come up are concerned with whatever you're launching in one way or another. So for example, if I'm launching something around wealth, which for me is about the harmony of the masculine and the feminine. If I'm launching something around wealth, I might all of a sudden have something that comes up where I have to really be boundaried with the masculine, or where I have to prioritize what is required for me in the feminine. There could be something that comes up. Sometimes it's really obvious and sometimes it's not. But the way that you move through that, the way that you recognize what is going on and how you can be empowered to support yourself through that is the calibration, is the expansion. It's not always nice or like this gorgeous experience or this like rebirth. It can be really horrible. It can be, I've literally had months where it's been like best income month ever, like, I don't know, 40K cash in the bank in 1 month. And then all of a sudden I'm like, why am I doing this? I don't want to do this anymore. What am I doing? This isn't right for me. And be on my hands and knees, like dark night of the soul, bawling my eyes out, scrolling for jobs. I've got a whole training somewhere about this, actually, how to be a hot mess and have it all, because that is the expansion. That is the evolution. So that is the way that, like, the experiential, that's the lived version of being able to recognize what is going on and support yourself through that energetically. Now, the other version, which is what I want to talk to you about today, is alchemizing your blocks using human design. Does this all make sense so far with the blocks and all of those things? Let me know. I want to see who's a child of the 80s. I can just see Facebook user. Okay, so your human design is your energetic blueprint. Your human design is about who you're here to be and what you're here to experience. So your human design, if we're looking at it a very simplistic way, has two aspects to it that are super important when we're looking at this. The first is where you have defined centers, channels, or gates, where there's definition inside of your chart, wherever it's colored in. That means that you have got consistent access to the energy in that center. When you have got consistent access to energy in the center, in the gates, in the channels, wherever it is, for the purpose of what we're going to talk about today, it's going to be specifically the centers, where you have got consistent access to the energy. This is where you are shining out, like you're a beacon shining out into the world. It means that you are, imagine this like a glass. The glass of water is full. When you have undefined spaces in your human sign, specifically centers for the purpose of what we're talking about today, when you have undefined centers, if you have gates, for example, maybe it's like there's some water in the glass. If you don't have gates, the glass is completely empty. And that means that when you're around other people, they can put the different juice flavor that they're drinking into your glass, into your center, and you're feeling that. So essentially what's happening on an energetic level is that you're feeling the energy of other people in the spaces where you are undefined. When you feel the energy of other people in those spaces, because there's room to bring it in, a couple things can happen. You're either acting like that energy is yours, in which case, if you have an undefined emotional center, for example, then you're going to feel other people's emotions. Then all of a sudden you translate that into your emotions. These are mine, but they're not. They're not your emotions. They're other people's. If you have an undefined spleen center, for example, you're going to feel other people's fears and translate that as your own. They're not yours. They're other people's fears. So you feel the things from other people, and then that can easily feel like that's yours. If you have an undefined G center, the center of identity, when you're around other people, you can feel like you're that person. You are when you're with them, but that doesn't make you them all of the time. So when you come away from people and you're holding on to that energy, then it can create what's called conditioning in human design. Well, it's called conditioning. In human design, it is called or referred to as conditioning. What also happens with the undefined centers is that we can experience a lot of what is happening in the world, a lot of the beliefs that we can hold and bring in, a lot of the understanding about how the world operates, remembering that we're transitioning from one paradigm to another. We can bring that into our energetic experience. Again, creating conditioning, which looks like patterns or beliefs that disconnect us from the truth of who we are and the magic we're here to share. All conditioning is, in my experience, my awareness and my understanding of energy, human design, and all of the work that I've ever done, conditioning is disconnecting us from who we were designed to be. It's the layers that we put on because other people or the world told us to, which means that we can take it off. There is nothing that requires fixing. There is nothing that requires, nothing is broken inside of you. Who you are underneath all of those layers. Imagine it's like you're wearing a million different outfits. I always think about Friends. If you ever watch Friends, there's one episode where Joey and Chandler are having this argument over clothes, and Joey puts on all of Chandler's clothes and he's got these like layers of clothes. That's a bit like how I see conditioning. So you can take them off, you can take the layers off, but underneath all of the clothes, underneath all of the layers, you're still pure potent power that your soul came here to be, and with all of the gifts that your soul designed for you to experience in this lifetime. And what that really means is that even the conditioning is what you were always designed to experience. And the more that we can see this as the gift, the easier it becomes to kind of celebrate it, make friends with it, instead of it being like the monster under the bed that's the evil baddie in the story that's stopping you from having and experiencing everything that you desire. It's actually this really beautiful evolutionary tool. It's this gift of wisdom, because where you have the undefined centers, that is where you have infinite portals of wisdom. Infinite. Where you've got the defined centers, they are already filled up, right? They've already got the energy. The way that you are in those centers is pretty constant, it's pretty fixed. So for example, if you have a defined G center, the way that you, like, your identity is the same no matter who you're around. It's more fixed, it's more constant. That means that the magic inside of your defined centers is to activate them, is to shine brighter through those spaces, right? To be more empowered in those spaces. The magic inside of your undefined centers is that once you have moved beyond the conditioning, not only are you like moving out the things that don't serve you, like imagine it like a spring clean, you're moving out the things that don't serve you, that are disconnecting you from your pure potent power. But then what you're accessing is the infinite wisdom that is inside of that experience of the conditioning, and then the alchemy of it. That is where your portal of wisdom becomes infinite. That is where your portal of wisdom is really impactful in the world. So when we're looking at your human design, what that means is that you can see where you are designed to have the most wisdom. Does that make sense? Let me know. I'm not going to go through all the centers specifically in this session, but there is a party coming up next week, so maybe we'll do it then. So when we're looking at human design, the reason why I wanted to share this with you is because I don't want people to be in this space with all of the, talk of recession, all of the things that are going on in the world. I mean, we don't watch the news. I have an awareness about what's going on in the world, and that's as much as I need. We don't watch the news. On Archie's computer yesterday, or the day before, one day, I can't remember, he had this news thing pop up, which I'm going to go and disable. I didn't realize it was on. He had this news thing pop up that said something about Britain is on the brink of nuclear war. And I'm like, putting it, like, saying goodnight to him. And he's like, are we in a nuclear war? I'm like, no. He's like, I just saw it on my computer, this nuclear war. I'm like, we're not in a nuclear war. Like, I don't need to know the ins and outs of what's going on. He's like, what happens? And he couldn't sleep for 2 hours because he's like, what happens if there's a nuclear bomb? What happens if... I'm like, we literally live in the middle of nowhere by Wales. Nobody's bombing us, don't worry. So, all of this energy that is still in the world, whether we have this awareness or not, the rest of, like, this unconscious energy, I don't want anybody to be experiencing all of these things and turning it into their reality because that's what's in the newspaper, or because that's what's happening, purely because the paradigm is crumbling. The paradigm is shifting. It has to release what is not served anymore, like what no longer serves us anymore. It has to do that. Think about it for yourself. Your own cycle, your own flow. What happens at the end of our cycles? We release. The things that our body no longer requires gets released. That is what's happening in this karmic cycle. So all of these things that are going on right now, to me, like, whatever, like, obviously I don't really, I'd rather there wasn't all of those things. But to me, it's like, this is part of an evolutionary cycle in itself. So the reason why, when you look at your human design chart and you look at those undefined centers, I would love for you to really celebrate them. really, belly's rumbling, really celebrate them and really get to the place of gratitude, because your soul designed for you to have those undefined centers in this lifetime so that you could deeply experience the wisdom in each of them. Because with the undefined centers, you are experiencing the depth of different experiences of those centers. So, for example, with the emotional center, you're experiencing all of the different emotions around you because that's where you're designed to derive your wisdom from. You don't experience emotion consistently. You're designed to develop emotional awareness through wisdom, through experience, through feeling everybody else's emotions. It is a gift. It is part of your journey in this lifetime. And it's already been perfectly orchestrated for you by your soul. When I work with people and they come to me and they say things like, I can't focus because I've got an open head center, or I can't move forward because I've got an undefined root center. I'm like, firstly, bullshit. Secondly, thank you to the internet for all of this really empowered human design teaching. And thirdly, like, it's fundamentally not true. So let's really make peace with what is really going on there. Let's make peace with what is happening, what you believe, why that is serving you, because there's something beyond that that's creating some level of service. But then we can look at what is going on in your human design. Let's look at these undefined centers so that we can alchemize what no longer serves you, what is no longer required to move you forward. Now, every single thing that you have experienced in an undefined center has been perfect for a reason and has brought you a gift and has brought you wisdom, whether it's been a pleasant experience or not. Like, we didn't come here to experience like writing down rainbows and candy floss and unicorns and glitter and all of those things. Like, we came here for expansion, for evolution. So in order to expand and have evolution, sometimes we've got to feel some things that don't feel great. Sometimes we've got to experience some things that don't feel great, and we still get to accept and take responsibility for that as well. Does this make sense? The reason why I wanted to share this, next week I'm going to be going into more depth with this with you, because we're going to have a human design alchemy party next Friday. And I wanted to give you like a little preamble of blocks, and support you in making peace and making friends and celebrating your blocks, because that really is part of unlocking what that means for you. That really is part of unlocking that expansion, that evolution for you. So the more you can make friends with them, the more you can celebrate when you're experiencing them, the more that you can really make friends with it. And the more you recognize where this is in your human design, like, what do these undefined centers mean? How do they show up for me? What is going on that I'm experiencing? Like, where are the patterns in my life? What am I becoming more and more aware of, so that I can do the alchemy on that energy? What is going on? Does that make sense? Oh, I feel like I need to sneeze. So next week, we're going to be going more in depth with this. I would love, like, how on board are you with celebrating your blocks? Gotta find another word for this. How on board are you with doing that? Like, does that feel like something you can do? Does it feel good? Do you feel like with human design, now you have a roadmap of where you're designed to experience this conditioning so that you can access wealth? So you don't have to be going around and having somebody tell you, okay, you've got a block with this, or looking on somebody's Facebook feed and looking at, okay, they've got a block with that, I wonder if I've got it too. Or looking at somebody's marketing who's saying you need to alchemize this, and like, if there's no need for you to do it, then don't do it. Don't take it on just because it's in your newsfeed or someone else has it or somebody told you have it. You are now empowered to look at your human design chart and use that as a guidance tool that is going to direct you to what is likely happening in your energy, instead of trying to look outside of yourself. You get to start to look inside of it. This empowerment journey is going to change so much for you. I mean, how many of you have bought things because you've been scrolling on Facebook and they've said, I've got this thing to heal this. You're like, oh my God, yeah, I need that. Clever marketing doesn't mean that you need it. You get to make your own choices. You get to be empowered by looking at your human design chart. And you can say, you know what? I have been experiencing these patterns. That would be amazing. Yeah, I totally agree with what you share about undefined spaces in a human design chart. This is what I share to my clients too. It makes such a big difference. Makes such a big difference. Like, the human design system is designed to empower you. If you're not empowered by what you're experiencing or how you've interpreted or how somebody's told you what your human design chart is, then you also need to take a level of responsibility to go, okay, what does this really mean for me? Does this mean this? Does this mean that? One of the things I always say when I'm doing readings or if I'm working with clients is, what does that mean to you? Like, if you're a projector and you're designed to experience success, that doesn't mean the word that we think that it means. Does it mean that success for you is success in the world that we see, or does it mean something different? Like, how do you fit into it? Really bringing that connection with the word, because some of human design, a lot of human design, is not empowered language even. So we have to also bridge that gap too. I invest a lot in coaching, but less in objects. Yeah, okay. So with the coaching, it's similar thing. A lot of coaching can be sold off the back of, you need to fix this. Do you? Do you? So human design becomes this really empowered tool for you to empower yourself and to know where to look and what is going on. And the reason why we're doing a party next week is because I'm celebrating a new business. I mean, I don't have the fully branded bottles or anything, but I have a new business that is launching that is all about human design alchemy, the actual energetic of it, your actual embodiment of it. And it is all about using these really gorgeous essences to support, like, as together with different alchemy and coding processes to support your embodiment of your human design, so that you can activate where you're defined and where you've got this magnetism, and really like brighten up and amplify that magnetism, and where you can alchemize the conditioning and really sink into the wisdom, the depth of that wisdom in your undefined centers. So next week is the launch party on Friday, and there's going to be so much magic in there, talking about the different centers, how to use the alchemy, how to really support yourself with embodiment. Because what happens in human design is you go, this makes a lot of sense to me. Like, I really resonate with this. I want to dive headfirst into all of the things. Let me learn all of the things. And you learn all of the things, but if you're not embodying all of the things, then it kind of doesn't matter if you learn any of the things, right? You've got to embody it. So this is the first really comprehensive embodiment specifically for human design that I have seen with what we have integrated into this. So literal movement and breath work and the essences that you're literally putting inside of your body, as well as the energetic activation, alignment, and alchemy to support your own personal human design. So I'm super excited to share about it. If you would like more information now, then let me know, because we have a very limited first run of product, because obviously we've created the products. They're on their way to my office as we speak. So we have a limited round of product for the first launch, and it's the cheapest it will ever be, because I really want to have this really connected space where we go through experiencing the product and experiencing the embodiment and experiencing the whole of the energetic in a way that is going to create massive transformation for you. Amazing testimonials for the brand, because this is a brand new company. And I'm just super excited about it. So I'll give you a little heads up. I'll tell you a little bit that I haven't really told anyone else. So after the launch party, so the launch party is next week. The products will start being shipped after the launch party. So the following week, they'll start being sent out. And then we're also going to, for the people who sign up in the first VIP launch, then I'm also going to host an experience to activate your wealth codes. And that's going to start on the 22nd of November. So we're going to use all of the product, and we're going to use the actual embodiment process to activate your wealth codes. And that is going to be like a group experience. So I would say, and this is the truth, because it's a new product, a new company, the wealth experience itself is valued more than what you'll be buying the whole set for, because I wouldn't run a wealth experience, and I never have run a wealth experience that you're going to get so much support with for the investment of these, but you're going to get it for free when you invest with the whole set. Like, you get the whole set as well. So let me know if you'd like information. I'll drop you information, Suzanne, or pop it in your inbox. Otherwise, put next Friday in your calendar. Let me know you're coming. I put the event in the group as well, so go and give it a little I'm coming. There's going to be celebrations, competitions, party vibes, lots of information, lots of training, and it's going to be really fun. Like, I just want it to be really fun. There'll probably be a lot of dancing and things like that as well. So make sure that you've got that in your diary, and I can't wait to see you. If you have any questions about what I shared so far, then let me know. Otherwise, I will see you next week.